The Denver Broncos just got a significant development on one of their early regular season opponents. So for all of these years here in Denver, between 2016 and 2024 when Bo Nix arrived, we always had that quarterback carousel graphic from ESPN every time we'd play on Monday Night Football. Now, I think there's officially a new team that's going to start using that carousel graphic, and that's the Indianapolis Colts, Denver's Week 2 opponent. They have officially named Daniel Jones as their starting quarterback for 2025. Jones is going to become the 11th different starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts since Andrew Luck retired. We think about all the parallels between Indianapolis and Denver. John Elway, Peyton Manning, and now the deterioration of the franchise after losing their franchise quarterback. The Broncos had that quarterback carousel ever since Peyton Manning retired, finally having it stop this past year with Bo Nix. And Indianapolis, I'd argue their quarterback carousel has been even worse because Andrew Luck retired about 6 years ago to the day in 2019, and Indianapolis is now on their 11th quarterback. That's about the same amount of quarterbacks that Denver had in 8 seasons. So Indianapolis, they might have it even worse than Denver did. It all started off with Jacoby Brissett, who took over as the immediate starter right after Andrew Luck retired. He went 7-8 that season, including a win over the Broncos. Did miss a game due to injury. Brian Hoyer started, went 0-1 in that start. Phillip Rivers was actually the best quarterback that the Colts have had since Andrew Luck. He went 11-5 in the regular season, took them to the playoffs. They almost won that playoff game at Buffalo. They were one drive away from winning that game. So Indianapolis, if they had just maybe convinced Phillip Rivers to stay one more year, this quarterback carousel might have stopped. They could have drafted Phillip Rivers' successor, but instead, Rivers decided to retire and take his head coaching job that he had arranged at that high school down in Alabama, and they decided, the Colts did, to go out and get Carson Wentz. Excuse me. Carson Wentz had previous experience with then Indianapolis head coach Frank Reich. Reich was the Eagles' offensive coordinator the year that the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and Carson Wentz had that MVP caliber season. So the thought process was, okay, Carson Wentz is going to come in and he's going to stabilize the quarterback position. Indianapolis gave up ultimately a first-round pick to get him. Nope, Carson Wentz ended up having an epic collapse at the end of the season. Did go 9-8 as a starter, but you remember that final game of the regular season down at Jacksonville. Carson Wentz completely crapped the bed, and that was enough for the Colts to move on there and then. They traded him off to Washington. They tried to re-replicate that Phillip Rivers thing with Matt Ryan, and it just did not go well, man. He went 4-7-1 as a starter in 2021. Sam Ehlinger, the Broncos' current third-string quarterback, started some games, went 0-3. Nick Foles started 2 games and went 0-2 that season. And then they went out and finally decided to get a young quarterback in Anthony Richardson. 8-7, missed most of his rookie season due to injury, and then came back his second year, was the main starter, but due to further injuries and inconsistent play, that led to the Colts signing a low-ceiling, high-floor veteran. Does that sound familiar, Broncos country? That sounds an awful lot like the Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock saga from 2021. Granted, there were some differences. Drew Lock was a second-round pick. Anthony Richardson was the 4th overall pick in the draft. Daniel Jones was signed as a free agent to a $14 million contract. The Broncos traded for Teddy Bridgewater from Carolina, and they only gave him, I believe it was like a $5 million deal or something like that. They completely reworked his deal. So there were some differences, but the concept was similar. A high floor, low ceiling quarterback coming in and replacing the incumbent starter, and sure enough, Teddy Bridgewater beat out Drew Lock in training camp, and now Daniel Jones has done the exact same thing in Indianapolis. And it's just crazy how many parallels there are between Denver and Indy. And even more recently, the Colts had their longtime owner in Jim Irsay pass away, and we'll see what happens after that. It seems that they've got a long-term ownership plan in place with Jim Irsay's daughters. That wasn't the case in Denver when Pat Bowlen passed away. They had the team in a trust. They were hoping that eventually one of Bolen's kids could take over. Brittany Bolin was looking like the best person for the job, but it became clear that she wasn't going to be qualified for it. So Denver ultimately sold the team, and that was the best thing that could have happened to this team. We'll see if the current ownership structure that's in place with Indianapolis, again under Jim Irsay's 3 daughters, we'll see if that's sustainable long term. But if not, Indy might be destined to get sold as well. So all of these parallels between Denver and Indianapolis are kind of crazy. And now we've got the Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater experience all over again. And if history is going to tell us anything, it's that we're likely going to see both Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson start games for the Indianapolis Colts at some point. I understand that they'll probably want to commit to Daniel Jones, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy throughout his entire career. We'll see if Daniel Jones is able to stay healthy and keep Anthony Richardson off the field, but Teddy Bridgewater ultimately got hurt and Drew Lock went in there. It became clear that Drew Lock wasn't going to be the guy, and then that set off the further cascade of events with the Russell Wilson deal. It's the old saying, man, if you have 2 quarterbacks on your roster, you don't have a quarterback. I don't think that the Indianapolis Colts have their quarterback of the future on the roster. We'll see how they manage it going forward. Do they go out and make a trade for a veteran out of desperation? Do they go down the same pipeline that Denver did with the Russell Wilson deal? I have no clue what's in the future for Indianapolis right now, but just to kind of compare the parallels is crazy, and just think where Denver was all these years ago and where we are right now, having our head coach and having our franchise quarterback in place for years to come. My God, dude, it feels good, because I remember what it was like searching the desert for a quarterback, for a head coach, and now that we've got both in place here in Denver, we can look at some of these other organizations in the NFL, like the Indianapolis Colts, who continue to make poor decisions, and we can reflect and be like, thank God that's not us, man. So overall, really happy and really proud of the Denver Broncos, and Indianapolis, I wish you nothing but the best of luck going forward. Hopefully you guys manage this situation better than Denver did, and they don't go out and make a big mistake like trading for an expensive veteran quarterback who doesn't live up to the contract. Alright, Broncos country, be sure to leave a like on this video as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. I would really appreciate it, guys. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. Additionally, if you guys want to go above and beyond in supporting the channel, please consider becoming a channel member today. That would be absolutely incredible. You can do that by clicking the link in the description below. It's not mandatory, but if you want to help support me and help support the growth of the channel in general, that would be awesome. Again, the link is in the description below. And until next time, guys, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.